morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this March 9th version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon, and we're also on Roku.
Got it.
Yeah. How are you this morning, man?
First Friday.
It feels like a Monday.
It feels like it's crappy outside.
Yeah, I was dragging this morning. I don't know what the deal was.
You were here early. You were here like 5 minutes early.
Yeah, I know.
But that's how you beat the drags, is just jump it by 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You were here early.
That, and I skipped part of my normal routine.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
You did, yeah. I've done that plenty of that. I mean, sometimes you have to.
Yeah. So.
I've skipped this part of my normal routine before.
the very first show.
Was I late the very first show?
No, you didn't show up the very first show. The very first one, it was so funny.
My body, with the schedule that I work with, both jobs, especially now, my sleep schedule is horrible.
Yeah, that was just nerves though on that one.
It probably was. Yeah. I don't know, but like because I work
so much pressure on you
till 4 o'clock in the morning sometimes, and then sometimes like on the weekend. So like I just sleep when I can, basically. Like if I have like some time where there's nothing on the schedule, like it's like go take a nap, because you know you're gonna be up till 3-4 o'clock in the morning tonight, and you're gonna be dragging ass for sure. Yeah, just life though. It's not bad.
It was cold this morning. I don't know. I mean,
I couldn't get my car doors open.
Yeah,
they were frozen. It's funny. I walked to Cribbage because it's just right down the road from my house. And on the way back last night, there was snow on my car. I'm like, I really should brush this off now to make my life easier tomorrow. And I was like, screw it. Go to bed, go home, get up the next day this morning, and the doors were all frozen shut. There was, a nice layer of ice on there. So maybe be a little more proactive when it comes to TJ. What's up?
I think
TJ says top of the
all
morning.
Of our dreams a little bit.
Proactivity.
No, it's like like that thing flashes through your head. I should,
Yeah. I would say
there's
a good balance in my life of being proactive and procrastinating.
Yeah.
You know what's at the top of a procrastinator's to-do list?
What's that?
Screw it.
Yeah.
Right?
That's truth.
I think you have to have balance, because if you're always like constantly proactive, life would be boring. Like when you're a little bit, when you procrastinate a little bit, then you have to take things in stride, and it probably makes you a better person.
So Tanya is like super the other way. I mean, she is like, if there is a task that's due 2 weeks from now, but she can do it now, it's like, I mean, it drives her
not
crazy.
us.
It drives her
not
crazy
around
to
here.
Not do it. Yeah.
Thank God she doesn't spend too much time around here, because she would.
Part of that, but even that's, that's in her work life, and that's what makes her good at what she does. But man, I am. Part of it is, in the office is a wreck, and sometimes she'll come in and she'll say like, "Can't you clean this up?" Or what happened here is like, well, it was less important than all of the other stuff I did today.
Right. Yeah. It's like at the very bottom of the list.
Yeah, that's hard.
Well, I don't think we would be able to survive here if we were super proactive, because we have to take things in stride. Like we have things that come, like especially my job, the people in sports in this community aren't the greatest communicators, like coaches, athletic directors. And so I'm constantly getting things like last minute. No, it's not a bash on anybody. It's just reality, because a game might change. Yesterday for today. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, okay, well, I was going to be at that. It's like can't be proactive about that.
No, it's crazy dynamic. Yeah, it is just always changing. Yeah,
it's fun though. I posted a picture from the cooking show, which we can talk about that too. On my Instagram, and I told everybody my job's better than yours. It is. I really like both. My job is. I can't complain.
So tell them about that a little bit.
Cooking show. So we shot the pilot episode on Tuesday night. We haven't come up with a name. We're going to come up with a couple names, I think, is the plan. We're going to let the viewers decide what the name of the show is going to be. But we shoot it next door in the kitchen at Marketplace. Chef Russ, he's a chef from New York that moved to Vegas and came up here and is working at Marketplace Fresh Foods. And we take a recipe, one of his recipes, and we go through the full process, and then at the end we eat it. It's
yeah.
We made Not Your Mama's meatballs.
Not sure. Yeah.
It's his mom's recipe, and that's why it's called Not Your Mama's.
Not your mama, my
mama's.
mama. Yeah, you know, and that was that was funny when he talked about that stuff.
And I'm not a meatball dude. I think ground beef should be burgers. Like, I'm not a meatball. I'm not a meatloaf. Like, why waste ground beef and put ketchup on it and bake it, right? But those meatballs,
they were good.
Oh man, wow.
No, it's funny. I had some of the leftovers that I took home. You know? And
you had a big old plate of them.
And Tanya and I had them for dinner last night.
Not bad, huh?
Oh man, I sent Russ a picture. It was like,
yeah. They were really good, and it's crazy. Like he goes through the entire process, and I'll let a little secret out. The secret about a good meatball, and I never knew this, is you soak bread in milk and mix it in.
Yeah.
Try it. Yeah, Trust me. We'll have the recipe out when the cooking show comes out too, and you guys can cook it at home and try it. It's phenomenal. We do a lot of stuff. That was fun. It was, it was genuinely fun, and the production was a little intense because we did all the shoot and everything in an hour over there. But yeah, we banged it out.
But still, it's just fresh and different.
It was cool. It was cool. If you would have asked me 20 years ago if I ever thought I'd host a cooking show, no.
But we are looking for a sponsor though.
Yeah,
and somebody who could be a part of the process, be a part of the tasters.
I think we need. I'm going to try to work it out to where we can get different people coming in to test the food at the end too. Yeah. Like maybe like an EOU team or like somebody in the community just to make it a little more, touch more people with it.
Yep. Good.
Let's do sports.
All right.
Quick one for sports today. Both the EOU men's and women's teams basketball bowed out of the national tournament. The men had a rough first half in their opening round game. They only scored, it was bad. I'm not even going to talk about it. They couldn't recover. And then the women won their first round game and then lost last night in Wichita. They had a rough first half as well and just couldn't recover. That ends winter sports for EOU. Now spring's already started. We're moving into outdoor track and field. We're moving into softball. We're moving into baseball. We're moving into women's lacrosse. And women's lacrosse is still in the infancy. So, they're having another rough go already. They've lost, I think, 4 games by about 150 goals. It's pretty rough.
Wow.
Yeah, but they have a new coach too.
How's lacrosse scored even?
You throw a ball in the net with your stick.
Well, I get that part, but how is it scored that they lost by 150?
Well, they're losing games like,
but
25-0.
So every goal is 1
point? Yeah.
Oh wow. So it's kind of like soccer.
Yeah, it's
in a sense of score like that.
Yeah, okay. Or hockey with a
yeah.
It's been rough. But average lacrosse game, they score 15-20.
Yeah.
A game.
Right.
But we're just not scoring any goals. I think we've only scored like 3 or 4 times the whole year. So the women's NAIA National Championship for Wrestling is this weekend in Jamestown, North Dakota. And we have 8 women that have qualified. Wow. And a couple of them that have a real shot. Erin Redford at 136. She reached the finals 2 years ago at the national tournament at 142, and she's down a weight. And she 136 is her weight. She's a beast. So we might see her right back in the finals this year. That would be awesome. Callie Glenn, who is state champion from Union. She was on my show last year, the Union girls basketball team.
Yeah.
She is on the Clackamas Community College basketball team, and they kicked off the Sweet 16 for the NWAC tournament yesterday. She had 19 points and 6 assists, and Clackamas won, so they move on to the Elite 8. It's absolutely awesome for her. She was also selected on the all-freshman team for the NWAC this year, which is awesome. Small school girls. Hopefully so she's at a 2-year school right now. Hopefully maybe she ends up at EOU. I mean, that would be ideal. Her coach from Union, Jordy Claybaum, is the assistant coach at EOU now. So there's connections there, and we might end up seeing her right back here in Eastern Oregon.
Cool.
Yeah, that's it.
All righty. Good deal. Nobody heard that last part. They were listening to your phone.
Vibrating?
Yeah, it's all right.
Well, I mean, it's not like it was ringing. Somebody's trying to get a hold of me.
Yeah. You're a popular guy.
It's probably spam.
Yeah. Boy, that's rampant right now. So there's outside, snowy. Let's see what Gabe has for us here.
The European model shows scattered snow showers continuing across the southern half of our region for your Thursday, becoming steady and widespread late day into the evening. But notice most of that moisture not getting towards the northern blues and will allow us until later in the evening and overnight. Heading into the day on Thursday for LeGrand, it looks like this will start out into the upper 20s at the 8 o'clock hour. Dry conditions to start with lots of cloud cover. That'll be the trend throughout the day where that gloom won't be going anywhere. We'll see those easterlies in the morning change to the south by the evening, and as those winds gust up to 40 miles per hour in spots, rising those highs right around 40 around midday. That's also when we can start to see a few raindrops as we progress throughout the afternoon. Maybe you see a few grapple showers or a few snowflakes, but overall much of us will remain dry until we get towards the 8 o'clock hour. After that, that moisture becomes more widespread, and it would be just snow falling as we see a slight easterly component gusting those winds up to 50 miles per hour in spots. That continues overnight. That 7-day forecast sponsored by Valley Insurance shows those early morning numbers for your Thursday into the upper teens to low to mid 20s, with the exception for that warm spot hanging right around freezing in Pendleton, with that cold spot continuing to be into the single digits out towards Burns. Afternoon highs mid to the upper 30s to about 40, with the exception for warmest out towards Pendleton and Ontario, mid to the upper 40s to about 50. Once you progress throughout the evening hours, those snow totals could be looking somewhere between a dusting to 3 inches across our mountainous valleys and passes, with the exception for the potential snowstorm. I'm watching out towards Burns. Once you get towards midnight, we could see totals somewhere between 4 to 8 inches. Meanwhile, Pendleton will see no snow. They could just remain dry the entire day, but it's possible they see some stickage as we get into Friday morning. That's when I'm expecting widespread steady moisture all across Eastern Oregon, starting out as a mix of rain, snow, sleet, and grapple before those showers become scattered with less wintry precipitation during the day. But the mountainous valleys could see an additional 1 to 4 inches for your Friday, while Pendleton, Ontario may be closer to maybe a dusting to about 1 inch, while the passes see an additional 3 to 6. Your one potential dry day within the next 7, that would be Saturday, before more scattered mixes of some rain, snow, and grapple showers moving Sunday into Monday. And your next shot for widespread steady moisture would be late Monday into Tuesday. I'm still sticking to my guns on that being all rain for all of us, as those temperatures get to about average for this time of year into early next week, with much of us into the mid to the upper 40s to about 50. But I'm going bold 60 next Monday in Pendleton. And then by the time we hit the middle part of next week, that's when we can start seeing a bit of a cool down, meaning Wednesday could start the trend for more of those wintry showers mixing back in again.
Great. Let me get to this comment real quick.
Yeah.
Todd, yes. The Baker boys and girls both play. The girls are ranked number 1 in the state. They play at 1:30 today in Forest Grove. The boys play at 6. They're 4th. They're playing the 5th ranked Henley. But Todd, man, don't be calling me. I'm trying to make sure people don't know that I'm a top fan of Baker Bulldog Nation. I hid the badge.
You hit the badge.
I can't. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I'll take some flack for that.
Well, as they show it, yeah. I mean, if you check on their page often enough, then
or it's interaction.
Yeah.
And I of course I root for Jabron and the boys basketball team.
Yeah.
He's an EOU grad. He's my friend.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna root.
That's the
as
code.
long as as long as they're not playing LeGrand,
Yeah.
I'm all Braun and Baker Bulldogs. I texted him.
Right.
I mean, I could show you. I texted him. Good luck, kick some butt, man. I'm rooting for the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
But not when they're playing LeGrand.
So the girls are seated second.
Number 1.
Number 1.
Yeah,
and
the
guys
Baker girls
4.
are number 1. The Baker girls have the 4A State Player of the Year in Josie Ramos. Her dad is the football coach. She's like 6 foot. She's a force to be reckoned with. Her whole family is athletic. I mean, it's just it's part of. And then the boys, Jabron's son Isaiah was the GOL Player of the Year. Jabron was Coach of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
They had 3 kids in the on first team, and his younger son Rashawn is a freshman, and that team has one senior. All the rest of them are, I think they start 2 juniors, 2 sophomore, one senior, 2 juniors, a sophomore, and a freshman. Which is, I mean, there's a lot of good things coming for Baker basketball.
That's good.
Yeah.
A lot of depth there.
Yeah, very much so.
Good. Well, hopefully, and this is the quarterfinals they're in today.
This is the final site. So I think it's the last. No, I think 8 teams left. So, maybe 4 teams left. This might be the semis.
And there are 3 games. Okay. Yeah.
It's either the quarters of the semis. It's either 8 or 4 teams left.
Okay.
I think 8.
Cool. All righty. Well, this morning. Oh, I was going to say stickage. That's what I was going to tell Gabe. So I heard a new word. No, I heard a new word.
Oh.
This stickage was in there along with grapple.
Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, stickage.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Is that a word?
A little bit of stickage.
Yeah.
That means the snow is.
No, I know what it means.
Sticky enough to stick.
Yeah, I know.
I guess.
Yeah. No, I love it. Good. Man, there was a lot of information in there.
Finally, okay, there you go. Todd came through for me. He pays attention. He's a ref. He won't be reffing down there though. He's beat up. That's 2 refs in this area that got hurt this year. Floyd tore his ACL in Baker.
Yeah.
And then Todd took his televised spill, his second televised spill of the year, because he took one during football and we replayed it.
Yeah.
Love you, Todd.
All righty. Well, today we have Scott Carpenter, who is the assistant superintendent of the LeGrand School District, and he's with us today, and he'll be with us right after this. Hey, how are you, man?
Good. How are you?
Good. Glad that you're with us. And at the beginning of the year, I tried to get on top of it and invite all of our regular guests.
Yeah.
And so you and George Mendoza are swapping back and forth. I think it's every other month, or I can't remember exactly what the schedule is, but we're glad that you're here this morning.
Awesome. Glad to be here.
Yeah. And so how's it going? How's it going in the school district? You had a board meeting last night.
Right? It's going really well. Last night we had a long board meeting just because there's lots of good things happening. So last night the new bond project that's happening at the middle school officially got its name. We're excited about that. It's going to be the Wildcat Center.
Oh, okay.
And harken back to the middle school mascot. It is part of the middle school complex, and to be able to recognize them. You wonder if a little bit of High School Musical bled into that decision.
That's right. Yeah.
What they did last night was that before the board meeting, they had a committee. They had a list of about 30 to 50 names that had been submitted, and it went through a committee process with different groups putting in votes, and then it went to the facilities planning meeting, and they listed the top 5 or the top. Yeah, I think it was 5, and then the board selected the top pick, and that ended up being the Wildcat Center. So it's nice to have a name to the facility that will start being constructed the day after school gets out.
Oh, okay.
And it will be it'll take a little bit over a year to build, but it's going to be an exciting project. It's been great for us to work with Becker. I haven't been in those meetings directly, but know as I sit with Joseph or George and hear about the good things Becker's planning to do with that building, it's going to be awesome.
Cool. So is the annex being torn down?
So we'll construct the new building, and then the annex will come down, and then we'll repave that area.
That'll be parking,
yeah,
which is very badly needed in that area.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That building, the schematics for that building is fantastic. I mean, it's top of the.
Yeah, we're excited.
It's going to help. It's going to, not just sports though. Like it's going to help all around.
Yep.
Like all around.
Yep.
It's just it was a great bond. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, it was a great win all around. 3 years ago, refinancing the bond so that we could create the space for it, and not increase the tax burden. Being able to get the awesome grant for $4 million in matching funds, then being able to have our community support, which we greatly appreciate. And then I think the cherry on top is to work with local contractors to make it happen. It really does become a community project and feel special. And just appreciate, George and Joseph and all those who are working on the committees or different things to make it happen. It's going to be a great facility.
Joseph
Waite.
Okay.
Yep. He's our facilities director.
Okay, cool. And I know that's been a heavy lift. I know that, there's just been a number of pieces of that to come together to make that happen.
Yeah, well, all that work was happening during COVID. So
right.
It's like we're handling a pandemic at the same time we're thinking about the future. And
yeah,
I think that was a great project to get us away and out of COVID.
Yeah.
Frankly, to get our focus away from what was, the pandemic and find something that was good. And so while the timing might have created more stress or more pressure or lots of things happening, I think the timing was great in terms of getting us, into the future.
So how does a lot of conversation now, as we knew would happen, about the dip in education or the dip in learning during COVID? How are our kids doing? Do you have any information about that?
I would say
I
would say that we're no different than any other community. It's impossible to have the same level of learning, like where you're doing hands-on science, or you're doing intervention reading groups, or you're doing hands-on welding, or participating in club sports and activities, to have the same investment, the same tie and connection to school when you're sitting at home on a computer 4 hours a day during that. We appreciate our community being on that journey with us. We recognize fully that it was not what anyone wanted.
Right.
But it was the best we could do at the time. What I appreciate is that our educators were tremendous in a week's time saying, hey, this is what we think is coming down the pike, and them responding and them using new technologies, figuring out new apps or learning resources. It changed everything about how we do business, and that they responded to put on a great face and did the best they could. It has been fantastic to now be able to come get everyone back in the school building, get the masks off, and now feel like we're in the end of, or getting towards the end of, a first real school year. We're going into state testing season in April, May, and we're excited to see see how that gap starts to close as we get data and results. Our district diagnostics are indicating that kids are quickly recovering, that they're quickly starting to grow, sometimes a year and a half, even now, mid-year. And so I'm excited to see those results, and I know our teachers have been excited to just be able to have a normal school year and interact with kids in normal ways and just help recover. It's going to take time. I'll just say that. There were kids, if you think about a current freshman, they might have missed formative years in middle school in terms of those skills. And so those gaps just don't go away. And I think we need to recognize that it takes, 2 to 3 years for all those gaps to be filled in. In some cases, they may not be.
Yeah.
So we have to roll with that and just understand the times we live in.
I have 2 high schoolers. I have a freshman and a junior. Yeah. So I have the one in that freshman gap that kind of missed middle school, and both of them were really good students. And during COVID, it was just it was crazy, man.
Well, and at the same time, wages were going up. So if you were a high school student, you started COVID, you might have made $9, but by the time during COVID, you were making $15.
Right.
I had a daughter at Subway, and so she's like, "Oh my goodness!" And so there were some juniors and seniors that are like, "I didn't sign up for this online school thing, or I didn't sign up for these things, and I can make good money." And so there were just different choices made during that time.
Absolutely.
And it makes sense. But it's hard. I would just say the hard impact is, we hate to see those kids not finish, not complete, but sometimes that was the choice made.
Wow. We talk about this quite a bit. You go back at that, and in some ways it seems, I mean, the time looking back on it, it seems like this is 23. That was, I mean, where did those years even go?
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you were in it, it just drug on and on and on. And so,
and every new release of information or update from the state came like the day before Christmas break, or the day before spring break, or the day before the 2 weeks before summer was over. So it was always like hard from my perspective, or what I do in the district, to be able to like effectively communicate with the community where you're not a step behind because of just when they were communicating information.
That's right. You are a step behind because you just got the information.
Yeah.
They were behind. Yeah.
And everyone went to their Christmas breaks, and then the day they come back, the world changed.
Right.
And so it was interesting times, for sure.
No, and I had a lot of sympathy. My first wife was a school teacher, is a school teacher, and so I'm well connected with education, public education, and so on and so forth. Yeah. And I had a lot of sympathy for you guys, because you guys took a lot of heat, but at the same time, I know you. I know teachers. I know you. I know George. I know, I know you as people.
Yeah.
And so then you're, I mean, a lot of people assume the worst. Well, they're trying to control us, or why are they caving, or I don't know, any one of 100 different messages that are being pushed on you.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just had a lot of sympathy for the spot that you guys were in.
It was a fun place to be.
Fun place to be.
I was in a meeting at Central Gym the other day talking to some parents, and the last time I had done a presentation in that gym was the board meeting where there were over 200 people, and we were talking about mandates and what the COVID plan was and masking. And I just had to smile, and that was the last time that had happened, and I was glad it wasn't that topic again. It was something else. So.
Well, the good thing about it too, though, is like the majority of the general public 100% supports you guys. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We're just talking about single groups that have an agenda that we're doing that. You know what I mean? Like it mainly.
I would just say there was lots of room all over the place for frustration.
Of course.
My sense of the community was everyone cared about kids. Everything impacts kids differently. A kindergartner wearing a mask and just the goo that comes with that, it couldn't have been the safest thing. But everyone was trying to advocate for kids. It just different perspectives, and appreciate that. At the end of the day, there were things we had to do, and we tried to go through those as fast as we could and get to where we are today. And
we
made it.
Well, and part of it is that the school district is working on this 30,000 foot level. I mean, you're dealing, and the parent is like, this is my kid.
Yes.
I mean, so both of those are totally appropriate.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I totally get it. I sympathize with it. So I was listening to a report yesterday on national news, and they were talking about this very topic of kids recovering in their educational level from COVID.
Yeah.
And they mentioned that school districts, or I don't know, somehow there's COVID money that has trickled down to you guys.
Yep.
Have you guys been able, and the whole purpose of that money is to help kids overcome. Is there some things that you guys have been able to do to
Yeah. The biggest thing that we've done with those funds, and they're called, in our business, they're called ESSER 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
And there's some clever acronym I don't remember off the top of my head. There's always an acronym in education. But what we've done is, at the same time as COVID, we've seen a decline in our enrollment of about 240 kids. And so when you think about the funding that's connected to that number of kids, I mean, that's almost a whole school.
Yeah.
And so realistically, that should have impacted the number of staff we had, the number of programs we have. And we've been able to maintain those programs in a hope that as we come out of COVID, that enrollment will increase, and that we can move staff from ESSER funding back into general fund that's really created by enrollment. And so for us, the majority of those funds have either been to help create stabilization funds for big construction projects that we're doing, and or to maintain our staff during the pandemic. Almost 100% of ESSER 2 has been staff-related costs. It's been a part to beef up or maintain our online program because some kids had a hard time coming back. And so we've used it to maintain the programs we have in the interim to keep as many opportunities open for kids.
Yeah.
It's really been the focus of those dollars.
That's good. And I just can't, there's so much appropriate emphasis now towards trade education, preparing kids for school or for life other than college, which I think has been lacking in a long period of time. But I can't imagine how much COVID complicated that process.
It did. And one of the things that's been phenomenal on the way as we've come out of COVID is this employment shortage, right?
Right.
Baby boomers start to retire, and so they make up 50% of our population, and employers are starting to go, there's not enough of people by half. By half. Right. And so we've had awesome partnerships start to develop with the trades. We're building a tiger house or townhouses now,
right?
Starting this next school year. Great partnerships there with the trades to get them connected with kids and be able to hand them cards and say, hey, you should consider the trades. We just started paid internships with the auto dealerships, and they're willing to, as they find kids that are very interested, to pay in some cases for their education, and then they turn around 9 weeks to 6 months later and they're making $60,000 debt free. We have meetings with Wood Grain and Boise Cascade coming up. We have a partnership with GRH to have kids up there doing job shadows, and I just signed a grant letter of support to expand that. And so the employers are understanding the need to tie directly into our students, get them early, and then build a relationship so that once they graduate, it's almost immediate that they're in a career path or they're in a college path.
I love that.
That's going to be awesome. At the high school this next week on the 14th, we have our college and career fair. It's one of the larger fairs that we do. Chelsea Rohan does a great job in the counseling department with setting that up. And we're gonna have a gym or commons. I don't know which location. It's gonna be just full of people.
Yeah.
Offering opportunities to kids and their families. It's gonna be fun.
I might have to go up there and get some pictures of that.
Yeah. It's a good event.
I've been to it a few times with my mom. My mom used to be the career count, you know what I mean? So I've been to that fair a few times. It's a great opportunity for kids. And not everybody's cut out to go to college. I agree with that 100%. I'm all about giving kids these avenues to do something other than go get in debt. I mean, it's
no, I tell you, I survived college, but just barely. I mean,
me too.
I had a goal and I had to get through it and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's not a bad emphasis. I mean, I mean, pushing college on multiple generations of people have advanced us in an amazing manner. But at the same time, you have pockets of people that are left behind. Absolutely. That are there, and at the same time you have trades that don't have people that are really critical things in our infrastructure and to do their high paying jobs. And and so there's this mismatch and I mean, it's just totally.
Every other big country emphasizes trade.
Right.
I mean, it's like, why are we so far behind everybody else? I don't get it.
Yeah. But I think that's part of, I mean, when I was in school and when you were in school, the emphasis, and the emphasis as well, what degree are you going to get in college? And that was the whole emphasis,
Got a comment coming in. John Tolan says, good morning, you three. Scott's a rock star for our school district. Thanks for having him on today.
Thanks, John.
I love John. He was my coach. I've spent a lot of time with the
Tolan. He was an administrator in our district for decades and loved the man. Love the man. He's subbing in our district. It makes me smile when he's in and around our buildings, and he's just working with kids. It's awesome.
He's one of my favorites.
Yeah. I'll tell you this, I grew up in Tri-Cities and my dad was part of the Hanford rotation. What I mean by that was in and out of work. pretty regularly because just his background and what he did. And that was hard on him. That was hard on our family. And so I knew, like, I got into education because I valued that stability as part of who I am. But I rebuilt my first 2 cars in order to drive because there was a broke down 87 Chevy Nova in the driveway. And my dad said, if you want to drive, that's your car.
Right.
So I tore that apart, did everything,
Awesome.
found the valve that was broken, and put it all back together. It ran, thank goodness. I think I was so organized back then that I had a box of bolts and all of them made it back in except for like 4. But it still ran.
I've been in that.
And, not important bolts. That car made it through my siblings. And my mom gave that car to my sister, who was right behind me. And I got a 66 Barracuda.
Oh, nice.
Was my second car and rebuilt that. I went to Tri-Tech in Tri-Cities and did a diesel mechanics class. And I just would say this: if there was someone in that class that said, you have some skill or capacity, and I think at that age I probably did for my age.
Well, yeah, if you started
then
tearing down
I
cars.
probably would have been a mechanic.
Right.
Because I just loved it. I loved working on my cars. I loved, like, if I do this, I can immediately see an impact.
Yeah.
The systems made sense to me, but that wasn't true. And so because I valued a consistent lifestyle for me and for my family, the college, became a reality. And then I got into education later, and I've been able to do great things. And so I don't know what to do if I wasn't in education now.
But you know what?
Interesting.
I mean, and that's similar to my. I mean, I grew up with grease underneath my fingernails. That's just how but that mechanical ability, the things that you learn in those situations, have served me really well, regardless of where I have been. Yeah. And I mean, that's in it. And it also teaches problem solving, which is probably the number one skill that people need, regardless as if they're in some kind of, if they're going to higher education like college or they're going into a skill. They got to be able to figure out how to analyze and overcome an obstacle.
Yeah. It gives me a little street cred with my wife too. So I can at least start the project and maybe it'll work out.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
Starting ahead of the curve a little.
I would say with the College Career Fair, one of the interesting positions we're in is that we are a pretty large employer in LeGrand. And we are starting to we're going to be at the job fair, and we're going to be looking for graduating seniors to work in the district. This week is Classified Appreciation Week. So for all of our employees who are cooks or custodians, maintenance workers, secretaries, and just, we have about 120 employees that really keep the gears turning for our district, the heat on and food coming out. We appreciate them so much. But we're looking for those individuals that upon graduation maybe want to go to Eastern, but also want to work locally, and the district can help them to do that. It's been fun to see, sports. Rich McLemoy's son has been our custodian at Willow because he's 18. So he's a current senior, and at nights he's working with us to save money for college.
Good for him.
And it's just great to see him and get to know him, his work ethic. But we appreciate our classified folks, and we're going to continue to look for those great kids in our community or people that want to make a difference for kids.
Classified's the underappreciated.
Oh my goodness.
Branch, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no one who's underappreciated. I would hate to say that we devalue.
Not by you guys, but by us
generally.
I would just say that, there's a lot of emphasis on great teachers, on great administrators to make school happen and help kids have the lights turn on in terms of a skill or a concept. But, it wouldn't be the same if our buildings weren't clean. It wouldn't be the same if we didn't have caring cooks, who can put a smile on a kid's face pretty easy. It wouldn't be the same if we didn't have secretaries keeping yahoos like George and I organized and doing what we need to do. So we just appreciate them a lot.
And the other thing is the personalities of these people. Like, I'll tell you what, one of my favorite people in high school was Jesse the janitor. Yeah. He was everybody's favorite. You know what I mean? And there's always, that interaction. And so I don't want to say they're underappreciated, because they're appreciated by definitely by the people
Yeah.
that are
Yeah.
seeing them every day.
Yeah.
But like parents and stuff might not necessarily be like, oh, that janitor's all, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
if you want to, like, a fly on the wall position in our district, like, if you want to see the magic happen, it's our head secretaries, and just a brief shout out to them. Like, they see everything coming through the door, and it's always different.
Yeah.
Kids that may or may not be having a good day, or just the stresses on individual staff members, like, they're at the nexus of what a school does and
They
is.
are.
And it's
Talk
just
about
fun to
problem
watch them.
solvers.
Fun to watch them work. And
Yeah.
they're great.
Yeah. Well, and there's that support staff in every, or I mean, the hospital, you have the nurses and the docs that are kind of getting the attention, but you know, it's not going to happen. I mean, all of that infrastructure has to be taken care of.
Yep.
Same with our roads.
Yep.
Same with the city. You know, I mean,
Yep.
you might pay attention to the mayor or the city council or whatever, but trust me,
Yeah.
if your sewer doesn't work,
Yeah.
something's wrong, and
Yes.
it's going to get the attention real quick. Yeah. And there are people that dedicate their lives just to making sure that that stuff keeps on working.
Yeah.
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 So, well, you tell us just a little bit more about yourself. You were raised in Tri-Cities. How'd you get to LeGrand?
So I grew up in Tri-Cities. I'm the oldest of 5. Had great parents. Went to Kennewick High, so I'm a Lion, and graduated there. After graduation, spent a year at CBC to save some money. Went on a mission for 2 years in Kentucky. Came back, went to BYU Idaho for a term, and then met my wife. She refused to leave Utah, so I had to migrate that direction. We quickly started a family. So I have 4 daughters. Meg, who's 19, 18, 15, and 11.
all girls.
All girls. We have 2 girl dogs too at my house. So I have to defend my space at home.
Brave
Did
individual.
you say 4 kids or 5 kids?
4 girls.
4 girls. Holy smokes.
So we have a fun time at my house. It's fun to go home to that, and they're sort of my committee to tell me if we're doing things right or not. It's sort of fun. But I left BYU and became a social studies teacher. I got my degree in social studies education, and I got picked up by a small district on the coast, Warrenton-Hammond School District, outside of Astoria.
Yep.
Had great years there, worked there 7 years. I had 7 different contracts that were running concurrently. So I was the online social studies teacher. I worked at the juvenile corrections facility, so behind 7 locked doors with 40 dudes around circular tables with one pair. They couldn't have pencils or staples. And we learned about government and learned about the Constitution. That was a ball. Was a curriculum sort of person there, worked as a TOSA, and then was a student council advisor. So I got to build, the best one was a high school dance floor where we built a Asian pagoda, put bamboo up on the bleachers coming down. We had a running water down the bleachers into a koi pond on the gym floor, and did some things there. The homecoming was a big deal. So had a lot of different experiences as I was there.
That's Warrenton High School?
Warrenton High School,
Nice.
Yeah. And then came here as an assistant principal at the high school, became everyone's favorite friend as we dealt with fun situations.
That's not a job I
day in and day out. That's a fun job. It's
tough.
You're right at the crossroads of kids. They're making decisions and helping them to navigate those. And every day was different. It's a fun job. It's a hard job, but it's fun. And did that for 5 years. Superintendent Mendoza came and he wanted to see me come to district office, and so came there as the
He poached you?
director of ed. Yeah, he poached me as the director of ed programs, and then as I have been doing more and more in the district, that title became assistant superintendent.
I know. When I looked it up last night, it's like his title's changed.
Well, it just things grow on you.
But it didn't. I mean, it totally made sense. I mean, you've been doing that from the very beginning. I mean, you and I have been in a number of different meetings. It's like, yeah, Scott's the one who's really moving, connecting the communication pieces. Yeah,
I would say George has a very clear vision. He wants good things happening for kids.
Yeah.
We talk almost every day about where we're going and how to get there. And my job is to, connect the nuts and bolts.
Right.
And to connect the people. And I guess in my role, I know how good our community is.
Yeah.
Like I love the people in our town.
I know you do.
Because they make the good things happen every day, all the time for kids. I can go anywhere and ask, hey, can we do this? And it just happens.
Right.
So I love that about our community. I see it happen every day through my office as people come in and they have an idea or they want to do this. And sometimes I have to defend, like, we have English and math time. We gotta do English and math first.
Yeah.
But if we can design a driver's ed program and work with Goss Motors to make it happen, and ODOT, we make it happen. If we can make it happen I've worked with the Watershed Council on, different projects, worked with Eastern Oregon Workforce Board to make paid internships for kids happen.
Yeah.
Worked with so many different good people and institutions. It's fun to see that happen.
Yeah. And I see that. I see that in you, and I see that in George. Tremendous amount of respect for both of you. This is probably the longest conversation you and I have ever had, but I've spent a lot of time in meetings with you and George, and when people, there's a lot of buzz about education. There's a lot of buzz about the negative things that are coming into education or whatever, and you guys are under a lot of pressure. I know, and the most complicated thing is Eastern Oregon does not represent what's happening on the west side of the state.
Yeah.
And so, but at the same time, they're your bosses. They're, and so you have to figure out how to navigate that so that, and that's the thing that I keep coming back to over and over again is, when I kind of hear people's fears or I hear whatever, it's like, but I know Scott.
Yeah.
I know George.
Yeah.
I know these guys.
Yeah.
They're us. They like us. They have they are Easter. They might not be here from originally, but they are as Eastern Oregonian as any of the rest of us.
Yeah.
And at the same hand, you've got this huge job of trying to advance education at the end of the day.
Yeah.
If that kid isn't learning, then you've got to figure out why they're not learning. Yeah. And so that's complicated. But I just, at the end of the day, I appreciate that you care.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that that you care about us, So.
I would just say the driving force, and it always has been, and I would say this is true about George, this is true about me, this is true about our admin team, true about our teachers and staff, is like, we want the best things for kids that are right in front of us. And we try to do that as much as we can. We are imperfect at doing it every day. Sometimes there's conflict. Sometimes there's things or decisions made that we don't agree with. But every day we're trying to wake up and do the best things we can for kids with the pieces we have in front of us. And I enjoy that sort of environment of just trying our best to make good things happen.
I think our community as a whole does a really good job at that. Everybody I know is all about the kids. Yeah. It's like, let's figure out a way that they're going to be our leaders. They're going to be, we have to figure, and they've had the most tumultuous time. You know what I mean? Like, we never went through COVID. Like, it's crazy.
Even before COVID were recessions.
Yes,
and just different
absolutely.
things. Like, they have not had
social media. The biggest pressure in the world is this right here.
Yep.
And they're dealing with that. And we have to be there for them.
Yeah.
That's just
and what's interesting is when people say that they're like saddened or disheartened by the current generation, the thing that I go back to is that even with cell phones or even with social media, even with recessions, even with pandemics, is that if you look at the last 5 years in the aggregate, graduation rates have only gone up. We have one of the most rigorous diplomas in the nation, and with all that change, generally graduation rates have gone up. Kids are required to do Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2. They're doing 4 years of English. They're doing all those things, and yet we're seeing grad rates and we're seeing kids achieve and do well. And so I feel like the current generation is probably more resilient, more like with it. Mm-hmm. They ask why, because it matters to them. Mm-hmm. I just appreciate that and think that they're responding to the times that they're in, and mostly in very good ways. So I have hope for the future. I think the current generation are dynamic learners. They know things change and they can flex with change really well. Are there challenges or issues that they face that no one has before? Yeah, fentanyl wasn't a thing.
No.
Vapes weren't a thing. There's social media wasn't a thing. There are challenges that they face, but the more that we can rally around them, support them, love them,
Yep.
the more they're going to just take us in awesome places.
Right.
Agreed.
Well, and I would say that you don't tell that story well enough. I mean, not you, but I mean, the school district does not. I mean, the only thing we hear is, we hear whatever might be bad, and it's easy to assume. It's like, well, the requirements are down. People can graduate with, and so it's. I mean, I guess I would encourage you. You guys could use us. I mean, if you talk to us, we'll talk on your behalf about the good things that are happening.
I agree. We need to do a better job.
Yeah, and I know that's. I mean, I've been involved in a number of organizations and on boards and whatever, and you're so busy doing the work that it's hard sometimes to communicate the work. So now, thank you. Thanks for telling the story. Thanks for being here, and thanks for being passionate about it. Yeah. So I just appreciate it. And I would say that, if you have a bone to pick with LeGrand School District, go talk to them. Make an appointment. Go talk to them. Go ask them the questions, that you're carrying around.
And sometimes we have great answers, and sometimes it is what it is.
Yeah.
And I would just say this final comment. You brought up the role of the state, the role of our local board. There is a mixture of those mandates and legal sort of things that we get to do, and then what the board and what George and I would love to see locally. We do the best to sort of manage those things. Tremendous respect for our board. I know we have an election coming up in May where some change is going to happen to that board, but they have been stalwarts in terms of helping our district move forward and across a host of issues. So I'd be remiss if I didn't say appreciate them and what they do. They had a long night last night at a board meeting, and just appreciate them.
Well, and I would say, if you're out there and you're pissed off because of COVID restrictions and the way that impacted our local school, I appreciate you being pissed off, but give up on it. Don't hold a grudge. I mean, we're bigger people than. I mean, all of us did the best that we could during that time. We all had to make decisions that were complicated. You guys had to make decisions that impacted students and staff, and because of that came with a lot of anger and pushback, and because you were the person that they could push back against. And I would just say, it's like, come on, let's just move on. We're bigger people than to hold grudges and to punish people. And I don't know if that's happening or not, but I would imagine it is.
I would say by and large, our community, like when we said mass and we're back in school and all that, it was just like, thank you, and move forward.
Let's move on.
Thank you. I'll tell you, generally across our community, I felt nothing but support. A lot of people saying, get it. We appreciate it. It's not what we want. And so by and large, I haven't felt that that negative. I know it exists. But at the same time, just appreciate, like, school is school, and we're trying to move as fast as we can to close learning gaps and do good things for kids. And I think that's our future focus.
So real quick, before we quit, I know this because we've interacted on this level and talked about this, but for kids, for parents that want to homeschool their kids, but they want the assistance of programs from the school district. Talk about what is available for them.
So K-5, we have what's called a home link program. We provide paper-based curriculum, so physical books and opportunities for kids. We have a teacher that's behind that, certified teacher, that can provide a framework and guidance and help to be able to make sure that as families do homeschool, generally what we saw, or we know, is that homeschool, when a family does homeschool, they might not know if they're pacing well with the child's peers that are at school. And so our job in that program is to help them know and understand, yes, you are on pace, you're ready. If your student did decide to come back, in 3rd or 4th grade or later in middle school, that they would have the skills or be able to do that. So we have that paper-based program. We also have LeGrand Virtual Learning Academy. And so we provide asynchronous, synchronous options, so live or at your own pace curriculum for K through 12. At the middle school, high school level, what's fun, and even a little bit at the elementary, we provide hybrid schedules. So if people are like, look, I want to do welding or I want to do a cappella, but I want to do some core online because I want to work too, we provide those types of options. We're that flexible. We weren't prior to COVID, and we are now. We monitor those pretty closely because there's some risk in working from home and not having the day-to-day support of a teacher. But we're providing those options so that families can find what works for them in terms of providing an education for their student. And so if you have questions about flexible schedules, or you have questions about our HomeLink program or our online program, welcome to visit with me or one of our administrators, and we would happy to do a consult and see how we can support your students.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot. Thanks a bunch, Scott.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Thanks for me inviting me.
Yeah, you bet. And we'll be right back after that. All righty, and we're back.
We're back.
That was good stuff, man.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. All right.
I think we're in a good place after COVID. I don't think we're in a bad place after COVID. I think we're progressing well, our community.
No, I think we are. I think that, and I meant to ask this question and forgot, is, what can parents do to help their kids get back up to level?
Right.
And I think, what he was saying, it's not going to just happen. There has to be some intention about it and to figure it out. So,
on this day, March 9th, 1497, Nicholas Copernicus first recorded astronomical observation. 1497.
Okay.
1864, Ulysses S. Grant is appointed commander of the Union Army. 1907, the first involuntary sterilization law was enacted in the United States, in Indiana.
Wow.
Yeah. That's, that was only 110 years ago, too. 115 years ago. That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
That we were that, 1959 on this day. I'm gonna let you try to guess.
Okay.
A certain toy
59
was debuted at the American Toy Fair in New York, and since then, over 1 billion of them have been sold.
59.
1959.
Barbie.
Oh,
Nailed wow.
It. 1998 on this day, Dr. Dre hit a gold mine. He signed unknown rapper Eminem to Aftermath, which is, wow. That was the start of Eminem. 1998 on this day.
Wow.
2011 on this day, Space Shuttle Discovery made its final landing after 39 flights. 39 flights is a lot for a space shuttle. That's a lot. 2021 on this day, China and Russia agreed to build a research station on or around the moon and collaborate on lunar missions, which basically started the next space race. It's still ongoing, and it's probably not good for us that China and Russia is collaborating. It is what it is.
Yeah.
2022 on this day. This is a crazy story, and I'm going to read more into this because it interests me, but I don't know a lot about it. but stolen notebooks belonging to Charles Darwin, including his famous Tree of Life sketch, were mysteriously returned to Cambridge University after being missing for 22 years.
Wow. What year was that?
That was just last year.
Wow.
They were gone since 2000, and they just mysteriously showed back up.
Weird.
Which, I mean, Charles Darwin's Tree of Life sketch is like, I don't even think you could put a monetary value on that, right? I mean, he's Darwin. I mean, it's like, that's crazy. Yeah. Where were they? Where were they? Who had them? What were they doing with them?
Yeah.
Like,
and all that
you
time.
can't sell them. What are you going to do? Walk into a pawn shop and be like, oh, yeah, I have Darwin's.
Well, yeah. And why would you hang on it for 20 years and be like, okay, I guess I'll
give them back now.
Yeah.
like you got away with it. No, they're not going to catch you now. It's 22 years, but maybe they had to change of heart.
That's funny.
That's weird. The number one song in the country, 1993. It's a soundtrack. What is it, BC? What song
who that guy is?
That's Peebo Bryson.
Okay, Peebo Bryson. Oh,
and Regina Bell.
It was a Disney movie.
Yep.
Was
Aladdin.
Beauty and the Beast? Oh, Aladdin.
A Whole New World.
That guy.
Number one song.
I think he's dead now. He could, but man, he could sing.
He could blow. Yeah, he could.
Oh my goodness, I love. Yeah.
And then quote for the day: "We are not at our best perched at the summit. We are climbers at our best when the way is steep." John Gardner. We are not at our best perched at the summit. We are climbers at our best when the way is steep.
Wow.
That's it.
Good.
See you Tuesday, all right?
Yep.
Who we got Tuesday? Do we have a...
We do, but I can't. I don't have it in front. I'm trying to think. I know Remax is up next week sometime, I believe. So, but hey, thank you. Watch for the cooking show. I'm not sure when that will be coming out.
Yeah, we'll put out information about that, and then I have something too. Sports show tomorrow. I'm gonna do it live from Northwest Furniture and Mattress, so that's gonna be fun. I tried that out last week, and I kind of like how it turned out, and I'm gonna change it around a little bit and do a couple different things. But yeah, I'm gonna do the sports show. I'm gonna start doing it at least once a week live from my sponsors' places. Why not?
Good. Alrighty. Thank you, Eastern Oregon. We'll see you soon.